Nightingale is probably the game that I was looking forward to the most in 2024, but now that we're a few weeks past release, what do I think of it now, and what do I hope the future looks like for Nightingale? Let's talk about it. Nightingale is a Windows-only experience. It is available on Steam and the Epic Game Store. It costs $30 American, which I think is a fair enough price for what we'll get. If you want to run this game, you'll need a 64-bit operating system, an Intel Core i5-4430, or equivalent, a GeForce GTX 1060 or comparable, 16 gigs of RAM, 70 gigs of space on your drive, and a broadband internet connection. This game fits solidly as a first-person survival game. Think games like Rust, Fallout 76, Minecraft, Valheim, or The Forest. You'll play as a fully customizable character known as a Realm Walker, with the goal of returning to the material plane after Earth was struck by some arcane cataclysm caused by the magics of the Feywild. You'll do this by gathering resources from across the Feywild, fending off its many bizarre and deadly creatures, crafting machinery and magic items, and hopping across the Feywild through portals of your own creation. At the time of recording this review, I'm about 20 hours in and crafting guns, so if you're looking for something more in-depth, let me know and I can do a follow-up video in the future. And make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that video. Crafting in Nightingale is deceptively complex depending on the type of survival game that you're used to playing. You build crafting stations that refine resources that you collect or combine resources that you've refined and gather to create your equipment. At first, your simple crafting stations will allow you to craft items out of the resources that you find, but as you progress, you'll need to build augments that will allow you to craft select recipes at these stations. And sometimes I feel like these interactions are a little nonsensical. A great example of this is once you get to the refined or second tier crafting tables where you can build guns. In order to build a smoothbore shotgun, you need your refined workstation and a crude tea set nearby. I don't know how having a tea set enables you to create a shotgun, but it does. Your crafting tables are also impacted by the environment they're located in. If you have a light source nearby, a heat source, it's surrounded by walls and a roof and a floor, all of that impacts the efficiency of your tables. And here's the next layer of crafting, the materials. The materials you make your items out of impact their stats and passive effects. Harpies drop hides, bones, and using their materials for crafting will provide you bonuses to your agility. Then, once you craft your gear, you can spend the essence that you collect throughout the world to upgrade it. Upgrading increases the basic stats and allows you to apply enchantments and charms to the gear to apply passive effects. I pretty much got to the point of crafting guns in this game, and I'll say if you're someone who gets a lot of enjoyment of crafting items in like MMOs, this is going to be a system you're gonna like. If you find crafting to be the least interesting part of the survival game, I think you'll unfortunately have some gripes with this game. But we'll talk about that in a little bit. Building is pretty simple. Select, place, and click. You can place a structure without having the resources to build it, so you can lay out your base, then grab materials and build it instantly. You unlock structures, crafting stations, furniture, lighting, and augments either by buying the recipes from essence traders or by completing challenges around your various realms. You'll learn a lot about building just by going to different realms, where a not uncommon side quest is a group of NPCs needing your help to complete their structures. Combat in Nightingale is really built around your gear score. The higher quality weapons and clothes you craft, the more likely you are to win an encounter with the dangers of the Feywild. Much of the game's progression is built around you beating bosses at sites of power, so increasing your gear score is pretty much required, since you'll need to have the minimum gear score to enter them at all. Combat itself is pretty dynamic. Each creature has weak points, and by hitting those weak points, you'll deal extra damage. In most fights, you'll be changing between using melee and ranged weapons on the fly. For the most part, combat feels good. Some satisfying sound effects happen when you hit the weak points of a creature. Swinging melee weapons feels really solid when they're heavy, and nice and quick when they're light. Guns like the Lancaster pistol feel okay. I'm looking forward to expanding my arsenal so I can get a real feel for the firearms in this game. Realm cards are the way that you explore the Feywilds, with 3 types of cards impacting your world. There's the biome card that determines the environment, the major card that impacts the creatures, merchants, and encounters, and minor that allows you to change things like player stats in the realm or even loot rates. For biomes, you can craft 3: forest, desert, and swamp. Forest biomes have relatively few hazards, but you do run the risk of getting cold and chilly. Deserts, you run the risk of overheating and having to contend with automatons. Swamps, you run the risk of diseases. In the major categories, you have cards that impact the danger of the realm and who you will find in that realm. For example, the first card you get is the Antiquarium card, which will be middling danger and lets you meet with the druids, while the Utopia card will be a realm that the sun never sets in. The minor cards are a bit more wacky, like the Thinned Veiled card that will impact the gravity of the realm but drain your equipment durability more quickly. I generally like this system. I like the idea of crafting worlds to your specific wants and needs in the name of returning to the end goal of Nightingale. So before I get into performance, I really wanted to take a few minutes to talk about my general feelings on the game as it is now. Early game in Nightingale is slow. The crafting system doesn't lend this game to be a quick experience. This isn't a game that's designed to be played for an hour at a time. And what compounds this issue for me is the lack of variety in the early game. Before you unlock refined crafting stations, you're stuck with the same weapons you craft right away, incrementally improving them with the upgrade bench, enchantments, and charms. So for the first set of bosses until you reach the Gloom side of power, you'll be using the exact same set of weapons that you started with. I really wish the early game had some sort of variety in gear and weapons, or that simple workstations had augments that could impact their recipes. Another gripe I have with this game is the resting system. You have to rest periodically, but in order to do that, you need a bed. Long resting causes the night to pass and is only available when it's dark out. Short resting doesn't have any time passing and can be done either day or night, but it doesn't fully reset your bar. So that means if your bar is low, you have to rest multiple times to get it back up to full. I know this is a minor thing, but it's just a design flaw that annoys me. I don't want to have to click the bed multiple times just to get my bar up during the daytime. Just automatically fill it up for me. The game does offer companions, but they aren't all that great. They will collect resources for you if you equip them with the appropriate gear, but their pathfinding isn't great and their combat prowess is somehow even worse. They make for great meat shields in a fight though. They do get around the pathfinding issue just by teleporting to you if you're moving at great distances, which is nice. The companions also don't really stick to you. So if you get weighed down with resources and want to transfer them over to your companion, you might be stuck moving at a snail's pace just to get to them. My final gripe with the game is that the world is filled with a lot of little ruins and signs that the human world and Feywild have collided. You'll see airships, abandoned structures, and Fey ruins, but rarely will these little areas have much to offer except for a fight. This is super unsatisfying and leaves most of the realms you create feeling empty. You spend most of your time running around these areas just to see if they offer anything, just to walk away wasting your stamina and resources. The game runs fine on my rig, and there's definitely some optimization required on the dev's part. My PC meets the minimum specs, but I have noticed some stuttering and odd performance hiccups. My understanding is that the realms are operated on servers, so when you teleport from realm to realm, you'll be stuck in a lot of loading screens. I've only had one crash, and that was during a very long play session. Otherwise, the experience from the technical side of things has been solid. So let's answer the question that probably brought you here. Is Nightingale worth the grind? And if you've made it this far in the video, hit that like button. It really helps us out a lot. As the game stands right now, it isn't an objectively bad game. It's a game that is really worth only picking up if you're interested in survival games. If you're someone who can't play Minecraft for more than a few hours, then this isn't going to be a game for you to enjoy. If you're someone who really doesn't like scouring spreadsheets and coming up with MMORPG builds, this isn't going to be a game for you. But if you like spending your time gathering resources, building bases, shuffling from crafting station to crafting station, building gizmos and guns, you'll find enjoyment in Nightingale. The current price of the game is fair, but I would recommend waiting for a sale if you're on the fence. Hey, Editing Danny here. So right after I recorded this section, the devs put out a little roadmap so we have some insight into the work they're doing to improve the game. We can look forward to some bug fixes, server stabilization, and quality of life improvements like quick sorting and crafting from storage. So keep that in mind while I talk about what I'd like to see in the future. Alright, back to the video. My hopes for Nightingale is this. I want to see the early game be smoothed out. I want to see more variety in the early game, more interesting encounters, and at least one other option for weapons in the ranged category. I would also like to see the game make points of interest more interesting. Yes, there are challenges that allow you to complete puzzles for unlocks, but I feel like I'm just not discovering much when I'm playing. At least make it worth my while to run somewhere with more chests available. I also want to see NPCs get smarter. Some of them are just a little too dumb. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Nightingale and the current state of the game. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? Let me know in the comments down below. I like to read and respond to every single comment that I can. If you like reviews like this one, be sure to subscribe to the channel. Drop a like if you learned something, and until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, keep fighting the good fights, and we'll see you in the next video.